Chair now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Rohrabacher.
Yes, thank you much, Chairman King, Ranking Member Cohen, and other members of the subcommittee. Thank you for holding this hearing. And before I begin, I will note that I have received testimony from dozens of my constituents about this issue and how it affects their lives, and I ask that these statements be included in the hearing record.
Without objection.
I also have letters from several city governments in my district on how they are affected by this problem, and I ask that they too be included in the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
As we are all aware, our country is enduring a crippling opioid epidemic. Many of our fellow citizens of all ages and social statutes are painfully struggling to seek ways to end their dependence on pills that have all too often been legally flooded into our towns and cities and rural communities. I come before you today to discuss the impact that this challenge has had on many suburban communities, including those in my district in Orange County, California. Our challenge is different than just salvaging the lives of addicts. It seems alcoholics and drug addicts are being recruited throughout our country to seek recovery in the wonderful environment of our Southern California residential neighborhoods. Residential recovery facilities, more commonly known as sober living homes, have proliferated to the point that in my hometown of Costa Mesa, it has been labeled Rehab Riviera. Something is fundamentally wrong with this scenario. Our sober living homes are not actually homes, but businesses that operate out of single-family homes in residential neighborhoods zoned for families. There are no standards or criminal background checks on those who can operate such a business. A significant number are run by unscrupulous owners and operators who willfully disregard the well-being of the addicts they are supposedly saving, while simultaneously reducing the quality of life in communities where these homes are located. Under normal circumstances, this problem would be addressed by local government. But in this case, federal law shields the bad actors with the protections meant for their clients. Federal law designates recovering addicts and alcoholics as disabled. The Fair Housing Act protects them from discrimination in housing, and its protections have then been extended to the business servicing them. This has an unintended effect. States and local governments have been consistently rebuked by the courts that say laws and ordinances that target these facilities discriminate against the people who are living in the facilities. Meanwhile, crooked owners and operators laugh all the way to the bank. They operate for-profit businesses posing as housing providers for the disabled, meaning drug addicts and alcoholics, who are being located in residential neighborhoods. All of this is happening without accountability or oversight. Indeed, the Government Accountability Office issued a report showing that insurance fraud is rampant among these facilities in these states across the country. Tracking these recovery houses and the problems associated with them is impossible because unlicensed facilities are not registered, nor are they systematically inspected. In short, there is a distinct lack of local oversight and authority. This situation has proven harmful to local residential communities, and yes, those who are trying to free themselves from drug and alcohol addiction have also been mistreated by this. They are victims in more ways than one. Furthermore, the neighborhood impact is alarming. My constituents report increases in criminal activity, disturbances, emergency visits, at all hours of the night and day, noise and filth and trash and other issues around these particular homes, but not at the other homes in their neighborhood. The occupants are transient and they are sheltered for only weeks, if not days. And in fact, there is no time, there's no commitment from these people at all about their community or their neighborhood. Too many addicts relapse, and sometimes repeatedly they relapse and illegally obtain drugs. After relapse, the individual often, and after they relapse from their treatment, they have no place else to go and they end up homeless on our streets. This system is designed to exploit people who desperately need help, and it's unfair to require residential neighborhoods to bear the burden of shoddy, unregulated recovery by reducing the quality of life and decreasing the home values of the people who live in that neighborhood. Let's do the right thing and balance the needs of communities and recovering addicts. This hearing is a good start. I will note that I have introduced legislation that I believe would help fix the problem, not by furthering more government regulation at the federal level, but empowering local and state governments. HR 5724, the Restoring Community Oversight of Sober Living Homes Act, would be the first good step. I would clarify that nothing in the federal law is protecting, and my bill would clarify that nothing in federal law protecting those with disabilities would prohibit local government from regulating or banning these facilities in residential neighborhoods. For that to work, the bill defines recovery facility in the federal code, and then those in residential zones are exempt from the definition of dwelling for the purpose of protecting under the Fair Housing Act. Furthermore, my bill would bar federal money from being given to homes that are not licensed by local communities. Lastly, it would remove the treatment of substance use disorder from the list of essential health benefits for the purpose of insurance. Now, that is a very difficult position for many of my colleagues to take. I understand that, but it would remove the unintended incentive for operators of these treatment centers to encourage patients to relapse and gravely endanger their lives in order to obtain more and a lucrative insurance coverage. I would appreciate the opportunity to work with this subcommittee on moving this bill forward so we can provide local government with the tools to help communities and to help addicts who are so poorly served by the status quo. I thank you again for conducting this hearing. It's a complicated problem. It deserves our attention, and I appreciate your willingness to give this an honest look.
The chair thanks the gentleman from California for his testimony.